So if I'm looking at state land, I'm going to be hunting state land. My focus is going to be more on the thick bedding cover than on the food. In my experience, I've seen deer travel quite a distance from state land and sometimes off the state land onto neighboring farmland to feed. And so with the added pressure on state land, I've felt that targeting those thick areas has produced more deer sightings and resulted in more deer harvested. When it comes to private land, my experience is that deer don't tend to bed as far away from the food as they do on public land. And so I'm usually setting up a little closer to the food source than I would if I was hunting on public land. And I think the main factor there is just the amount of pressure that those deer are seeing, which drives them back into the thicker cover and away from where they're getting that human pressure and that human contact.
Yeah, what if you could rank these then? So you're saying on public land, you'd rank cover as probably being the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, I guess, food, and then the other needs beyond that. Because really, if you think about it, deer can get food where they're bedding. Usually,
right.
They don't really need to move in daylight most of the time if they don't want to or don't feel safe enough to. So, in public land, that can be a crucial factor. And where people can get really messed up. And maybe we can both share a couple stories about this. But a younger hunter or an experienced hunter, or maybe someone going from private experience to public, might kind of fall into this trap, which is on private a lot of times you can hunt these food sources and still do fairly well, right? If you're not pressuring it too much, you can hunt over bean fields sometimes. You can hunt over these food plots and have deer come out in daylight, even some of these more mature bucks throughout the year, and not have to dive into deep cover so much, right? But if you then take that private land mentality and go to public land, most of the time you're not going to see much, right? You might see some does, some small bucks, some really immature year-and-a-half-old bucks might come out and, they don't really know what's going on yet type thing. But the 2, 3, and, older bucks, if they're around, are not going to be doing that on public land. It's just a different ballgame, right? And so I think depending on where you're at, the priorities are different, right? Public land is definitely that cover.